Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome. Would you join me now, please, in welcoming the President of the George Washington University, Dr. Stephen Knapp, Dr. Guillermo Gutierrez, and our very special guest of honor, Carlos Slim. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure now to introduce to you the 16th President of the George Washington University, Dr. Stephen Knapp.
Thank you, Madam Marshal, Ambassador Sarakan, Secretary Babbitt, distinguished members of the international community, Chairman Ramsey, university trustees, faculty, students, staff, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome you all to the home of our Elliott School of International Affairs for this important ceremony in which we honor a truly great leader of enterprise and a great humanitarian and humanist. And we'll be turning in a moment to present a citation, at which time I will be conferring on our guest of honor the President's Medal, which is a very high honor that we award to those who have achievements that set them apart on the world stage. And that is certainly true of today's honoree. I do want to say, on a personal note, how happy I am to see so many friends here. We also have members, we also have the family of Carlos Slim represented in the person of his son, Patrick, who is here with us today, and his good friends, Dr. Guillermo Gutierrez, and also Dr. Marion Wolf Gutierrez are with us, and many others who have come to greet him here this afternoon. And we look forward to a reception afterwards in which we'll be celebrating the occasion together over refreshments. We hope that as many of you as possible will be able to join us on that occasion. But I also want to say that I was privileged just a short while ago to be visited by Carlos Slim in the residence we have for the President here on campus. My wife Diane is with me as well today, but our residence is the F Street house just a few blocks from here. And on that occasion, it was a luncheon conversation in which I truly had an opportunity to confirm firsthand what I had heard, so much of what I had heard about our guest of honor, about his wisdom, his humility, his insights into world affairs, into the global economy, into the arts, of which he is a splendid patron, as well as his passionate concern for and dedication to the people of his country, to the world beyond Mexico, and all that he has done really to reach out in fields like health and addressing poverty. You're going to be hearing about some of that in the citation, but it was a fascinating conversation, and I have to say that behind stage here, it was supplemented by my opportunity to witness another dimension, which is his extraordinary, and I dare say, encyclopedic command of baseball, which is quite impressive. And he and the chairman of our board, who also has an interest in baseball, began a conversation that I actually thought they might be talking about international trade or business affairs, and I might be left behind as that conversation went on. I was actually left behind much more quickly by the conversation that actually did transpire. But it is a great pleasure to have an occasion to honor someone who has such a breadth of interests and such a breadth of commitments as our guest this afternoon. And so I would like to ask Carlos Slim, would you please join me at the podium? And it is now my honor to read the citation. You are a distinguished son of Mexico, which is justly proud of your many achievements. You have had a profound effect on your country's economy, creating countless jobs and developing enterprises that span the spectrum of human endeavors. At the same time, your philanthropic efforts have enriched countless lives. The seeds of your remarkable business career were planted early on when your father, who arrived in Mexico from Lebanon in 1902, joined one of his older brothers in business. He instilled in you a sense of financial responsibility, and you inherited his aptitude and ability. At the age of 12, you made your first investment, buying shares of Banco Nacional de Mexico. In 1961, you graduated from the National Autonomous University and went to work for a prominent engineering firm in Mexico City. In April 1966, you married Sumaya Damit Jemael, and together you raised 6 children. In her honor, you later built Museo Sumaya, which contains some 64,000 objects. In the late 1960s, you turned to business and began acquiring companies. Today, your portfolio contains many of Mexico's most successful companies. In 1990, you purchased Telmex and transformed the delivery of telecommunications services. In 2008, you bought a large stake in the New York Times, an investment that generated international headlines. Your life is more complex, however, than the bottom line. Your passion for art is coupled with a keen interest in baseball, as befits a man with a talent for statistics. In addition to an interest in and reverence for finance, you inherited from your father a deep understanding of the importance of family. Your family members have been and remain a central part of your business and your life, and your dedication to family has been an inspiration to the people of Mexico and to others around the world. Throughout your life, you have dedicated your abundant energy, talents, and resources to the betterment of your fellow human beings. You created the Telmex Foundation to help eradicate extreme poverty and to improve the quality of life of the Mexican population. You established the Carso Health Institute to improve health and to fight disease in Latin America and beyond. In short, you are what the Mexican philosopher Antonio Caso Andrade declared to be the ideal human being: moral, willing, and spiritual. Carlos Slim, for all the foregoing, the George Washington University is proud to bestow upon you the President's Medal. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. President Knapp, Ambassador Sarukhan, dear friends, it's really a little complicated. I write some notes, I change the notes, I don't know how to say. It's more than an examination, a professional examination, but it's happening now to me. But I will try to order some ideas. I wait not to be so long. I make some notes, but like I told, I change them. First, to tell that I am very pleased and honored with this award, this President's Medal. Thank you very much, President Knapp. It's really an honor to have this distinction from this great and recognized university, this George Washington University, that is not only important because of his highly academics studies, but also the location is important because for the influence that you can have around the heart of the United States and so many times the heart of the world. I should say now we are living a very special situation, a crisis, and if it's not I will try to talk something about that. First of all, it's important to know or to think, that's my point, that it is not a time of changes, it's a change of times. We are living a change of times because a new civilization with new paradigms. This new civilization with new paradigms is, like you know, a society of technology, of knowledge, of information, the digital culture, but it's mainly a society of services. It's a society where democracy, freedom, liberty, diversity, plurality, competition, globalization, productivity, innovation, technology, are the new paradigms. And living this tough crisis, I think it's so important that U.S. get very strong and healthy for the well of the world. The decisions that this country will take are so important for everyone, and I think it's very important in this moment to know where to go and what to do. Where to go for the future, what to do today to be there, and being in a new society with these different times is, in my opinion, also that very important that our governments work in two main areas. First of all, living this crisis to minimize the social effects of the crisis, to minimize, to make it less aggressive. And we know that we can grow without labor, without employment, but also we can have employment without growth. I think this should be these times. Employment without growth to minimize the social effects of the crisis, to make efforts in this way. But also there should be a transformation, a big transformation, a structural transformation in many areas, and work in these two directions. First, to work in the crisis, and at the same time, work to make the transformations to arrive to this new society. And which are the fields that should be make a structural change? I think that should be in the health and retirement services, in the health services, in energy, in the environment, in the care of the environment, and in the other structural changes that should be done with a long-term vision, but also a global vision, a long-term and global vision to make these changes in the best way to be at the end of this situation, taking in account the new paradigms. If you think a little, you will look that in the agricultural society, people begin to work at 6 or 8 years without any education. In the industrial society, people begin to work at 16 or 18 years in the factories with only basic education. Today, most of the people in this society of knowledge will begin to work at 25, 26, with at least college studies, university studies, and many of them every time more with postgraduates, with more studies. That means that people need to work more time. When you begin to work at 16 years, you retire at 60. But when you begin to work at 25, you will not retire at 50, no? Or 55, you need to look other kind of things. And the research in genomics, the research in health should be very important to make these very expensive health services of cancer, kidney, heart diseases, to make feasible to have universal service for all the population. So I think that these changes, this transformation of these sectors, including the industrial sector, that should be changed. We are looking now that how it is changing some industries, like the auto industry in the United States, and they should be changed another more worldwide. We look at how these changes should be done to make it feasible and work and make them easy to work. With these changes, with the long view and the global view, I think also it's very important to don't make big mistakes. You know that we need a healthy U.S. worldwide and a strong country, and because that will be good for everyone. But also the mistakes are a problem for everyone. That's why it's very important that things will be managed in the good way. We are a little worried all around because we feel that the solutions are looking for big fiscal deficits that should be paid in the future, that can press for inflation, for deterioration of the currency. I think many of the issues that are working to avoid this crisis and to make it minimized and to get out of them are taking too much time and maybe too much deficit, and many of them can be without a deficit. Let's say like the financial institutions, to stabilize financial institutions by the way of capitalizing them. At the end of 5 years or 4 years, will be not a fiscal deficit, will be a fiscal superávit, because the banks will move and will do a lot better. And the stabilization of these institutions is very important, because we need to normalize credit, and credit is the chain, the point that links the financial economy with the real economy, no? And we are very worried about the real economy. That's why we need to normalize stabilize the system and go to the normalization of credit. Well, what should be done, I think, is to work strongly, and universities with this high level of education are very important to make research, to make propose solutions to the government and to the technocratic and technical people to find propositions that can be a good way to get out without so much fiscal deficit that can press inflation in the future. And at the end of the day, what our countries need is the last target, the most important target, that is the welfare of the society. And the welfare of the society needs, like I was telling before, good health, nutrition, and high education, better education. And that's human capital. Human capital is one of the big compromises and targets from all the societies for the future in this new society that we are living in, this change of times. And that's what the formation and creation of human capital in all our countries should be one of the big objectives. And the idea to having better human capital will be very important for the welfare of the society, together with the possibility of creating jobs, and to fight margination, poverty, and people that is living in autoconsumption. And the only way to fight them is by the way of human capital with health, education, but also with jobs. So I think that this should be the challenge for everyone, mainly for your country, but also the challenge from the universities to work in this, and the specialists to work in this kind of problems and make the propositions to find the right solutions. Well, I only can tell again, thank you very much to the university, to the George Washington University, to his president, President Knapp, and for all of you for being here. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Guillermo Gutierrez.
Good afternoon. I also have a few notes here, but I will not read from my papers. I will read from my heart and the words I'm going to say about Carlos Slim. I have known Carlos for several years now, probably around 12 years to be precise. I have been honored to have been his personal physician during those years. And as such, we developed a strong bond, a warm friendship. One day, I took advantage of that friendship and had the impertinence of asking him Carlos, you're so rich, you're so famous. How come? He looked at me and said, I know the value of things. Well, I thought to myself, I know the price of things. How come I'm not Carlos Slim? But then later on I reflected upon that. He did not say, I know the price of things. I know what something costs. He said to me, I know the value of things. Many of you know him for knowing the value of companies, commodities. He's famous for taking companies that are not doing so well, turning them around into emporia. He's called in Mexico King Midas. He has made one of the richest men on earth on the Forbes list. But his understanding of value goes a lot deeper than that. If that's your view of Mr. Slim, it's actually a very narrow, shallow view. Carlos Slim knows the value of wealth. He knows how to use wealth for the betterment of his fellow human being. He has spent lots of capital and time, both him and his family, in developing wonderful philanthropic foundations, such as the Carso Foundation, the Telmex Foundation, lately the Instituto Carso de Salud, the Carso Health Institute. These foundations are dedicated to improve the lot of those who are less fortunate than us in health, education, and living conditions. He knows also the value of education. Through his foundations, he has helped innumerable people. For example, the Telmex Foundation has donated over 100,000 personal computers to public schools in Mexico. They have given away over 200,000 scholarships to needy students to come to Mexico City to study. In something which I found just terrific, they donated over 200,000 bicycles to children. So you think, why would they do that? Well, someone figured out that a child takes a fair amount of time going to and from school. So if you give them a bicycle, they save off some of that time. So now they have more time for education, and the list goes on. So that was, I think, brilliant. He knows the value of art. As you heard before, he has established in Mexico City this Museo Sumaya, named after his late wife, Sumi. And I asked him why. And he said, look, many people in Mexico are not able to travel overseas and look at those beautiful works of art in the Louvre or the Metropolitan Museum. I have brought works of art here so Mexicans can actually look here in their country to those beautiful works of art. He has a wonderful collection of Rodin sculptures, and I have the vague notion that the main reason he comes to see me here in Washington is to go to the National Gallery. For some reason, he's always carrying me up, and let's go to the National Gallery and spend the afternoon there. So that is Carlos Slim. He knows the value of family. He has a wonderful family. If you ask him, he's a very modest individual, and if you ask him, he will say his greatest accomplishment is his family. His 6 children and spouses, and many, many now grandchildren. They love him and revere him. I have gotten to know the family. They're a wonderful, wonderful family. Carlos Slim knows the value of love. He, for many years, was married to a wonderful, beautiful woman, Sumaya Domit, whom I had the privilege of meeting under trying circumstances, which I will refer to later. But he was a devoted husband, and the love for Sumi is still there, I know. Carlos Slim knows the value of citizenship. He's a Mexican. There's no question about that. The ambassador can testify to that. He's Mexican through and through. He has helped revitalize the center, the historic center of Mexico, but he's also a citizen of the world. He's working with the World Wildlife Fund to turn Mexico into an example of environmental, one of the best places for environmentalists. Carlos Slim also knows the value of friendship. once you get to know him, you realize that most of his inner circle are people such like Alejandro Abumrad and his wife Laila, present here, who have known Carlos all his life. He does not abandon friends. He's a loyal friend. He's there when you need him, and he never criticizes. I can say that. Finally, Carlos Slim loves life. I met him under unauspicious circumstances, and since this is a matter of public record, I can tell you about this without betraying my Hippocratic oath. He had a number of complications after surgery. I was working in Houston, Texas, at the Texas Medical Center, and they called me to see this man, and I go there, and I saw a very ill individual on a ventilator. I looked at him, I said, about 5% chances of survival this man has. Boy, was I wrong. This man loves life. He fought like I have never seen a patient fight. He had just about every complication known to ICU physicians. I used to call him the 1% man, because if there was 1% chance that you could have a complication, he would get it. But he fought all these complications the same way he fights everything. He is now full of life and changing the world. So, in summary, we're in the presence of a giant here. Here's a man who was cast from the same mold as the Carnegies, the Fords, the Rockefellers, people who, through their industry and philanthropic deed, turned the world into a much better place for all of us. Such is the work of Carlos Slim. I really cannot think of anyone else more deserving of the George Washington's President's Medal.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here this afternoon for this grand event. Let me now invite all of you to the reception that will take place just outside the auditorium in the hall. Thank you and good afternoon.